Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nursan Jafar and I'm from CTU 351A1. Today we will present about concept of Al-ijarah and applications in vehicle financing, where I will present about introduction of this concept. Firstly, from the point of view of Habib Hassan Al-Ahmad Al-Kaf, Tahrir Al-Sadadik, Yemen, and Dar Al-Miraj Al-Nabawi, where it can be found from the first printing in 2013 on the page 138. So the first show that every human being depends on another human being. This is because when the person needs and does not have what he needs, then another person can help them. This is because this is the one of wisdom of Al-ijarah, which is prescribed in Islam. Currently, in general perspective, the concept of Al-ijarah and application in vehicle financing is one of the applications of fund where it's under the element of financing facilities and the underlying Sharia concept. In this concept, Al-ijarah is facilities that provided by bank, especially Islamic banking. The term of Al-ijarah is generally a concept which is more to lease of an asset, where in this term there will be two parties involved in this accomplishment, referred to lessor and the lessee. These two parties will play their own respective role, where the lessor is a bank which is owner of the asset and the lessee is more to user of the asset. Besides, Al-ijarah is facilities that carry on meaning of the contract to use the benefit of valid judgment where it's through the consideration. But the detail in Islamic perspective, the word of Al-ijarah is derived from the Arabic word which is called ajarah, where it is referred to giving a gift or return. And currently, Al-ijarah is a word derived from the nouns al-arj, which is compensations, where the meaning of compensation is identified as the reward, considerations, return, or counter value, which is al-iwad. The concept of al-ijarah is as well, it is one of the right to use the object of making the transfer to the lessor, where the borrower cannot be the property. Moreover, the concept of al-ijarah is applied in financing system. In fact, al-ijarah is very similar to asset rental contract, which it can be ijarah contract with the asset such as car, house, factor, and then machine, but the most famous is vehicle financing. This is because in Islamic banking also have provided al-ijarah tumma al-bayt as financing vehicle, where the financing envelope two types of contract, which is lessee contract, which is ijarah, and then followed by the sales contract, which is al-bay. But actually, al-ijarah tumma al-bay is a lessee by entering into simple lessee agreement with the specific periods to the lessee to purchase the asset at the end of the leasing period. Or in another words, is the lessor will make the lessee rent the asset, but in return, the lessee must pay the rent to use the asset accordingly to specific period assigned the fixed price. Next, under what circumstance can al-ijarah tumma al-bay can be used in vehicle financing? On these vehicle financing applications, as the three people involved, namely dealer, lessee, and the lessor. This is because in the case of al-ijarah tumma al-bay indicates that the dealer who will deal and communicate with the lessee and the lessor, because the dealer can be considered as the middleman between lessor and the lessee. Besides that, it is a non-loan agreement but is hiring agreement, where the lessee will continue to rent the vehicle until the installment of the vehicle are paid. Moreover, in al-ijarah tumma al-bayt also have the conditions where it will give and provide an opportunity for the lessee, as they have the right to return the asset and terminate the agreement early or perhaps the lessee decide to settle and hiring the agreement early.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Aishan Tashab Rahman. Today I would like to present about the essential elements of ijarah contract. A valid ijarah contract is establishing to several essential elements which govern the contract of ijarah that needs to be fulfilled by both parties. Ijarah is legal due to many sources such as Al-Quran, As-Sunnah, Ijma'ah, and of course have earned approval from Islamic scholars from all over the world. The first element of ijarah contract are the two contracting parties between the lessee as mu'ajir and the lessee as mushajir. Before an ijarah contract is made effective, it must be confirmed that the lessee must have full possession and legal ownership of the object. Also, both parties must be competent and possess legal capacity to enter a contract, as they must reach the age of puberty, free and to be a sound mind. Hence, a mentally incapable person, such as insane, or a child who cannot form a proper judgment or decision, cannot enter an ijarah contract unless with the help of a legal representative known as wali, or a guardian in case of a child, for the contract to become legitimate. Furthermore, mutual consent from both parties without any coercion is necessary for a valid contract. If at any cases one of the parties execute the contract against his free wills, the contract will become voidable. Then the next element of ijarah contract is property, or also known as asset. There are several important conditions of property at which the property must be owned by the lessee, ready to be used and delivered to the lessee. All the liabilities arising from the ownership shall be borne by the lessee, such as the property taxes as an owner. Likewise, all the liabilities regarding the use of the property shall be borne by the lessee, such as the electric bills or any other expenses related to the use of the property. In ijarah, the leased property need to have valuable use, which means property with no valuable use at all will not be given on lease. The corpus of property needs to remain in the ownership of the lessee, while the lessee only receive the possession of the leased property. Then the third element of ijarah contract are the usufruct and benefit called as al-manfa'ah. The usufruct should be precise, specific and known by both sides, in respect for both parties, so then there will be no dispute regarding the extent of the usufruct. The asset should be recognized by Sharia to be able to enter the contract. It is necessary to make certain for the purpose for which the property is rented to avoid any uncertainty. Also, the lessee only has the authority to use the property for the purpose that has been written in the agreement. It is not permitted to lease a property that will be used for forbidden activities by Sharia, such as converting the property into a gambling center or a bar, and the lessee must be responsible for any extra use for the leased asset. The fourth element of ijarah contract are the rental of the property, or known as ujrah. The definition of the rental amount must be known at the time of the contract and need to have the agreement between both parties. The contract will become void if the rental is unknown and undecided by the both parties. During the lease period, the rental is permitted to be fixed into different amount of payment through different pace of leasing. The rental payment might be in cash, any kind of goods or benefit. It is not permissible to pay the rent with illegal things such as pork or wine. The payment method must be stated in the contract agreement regarding that it may be in installment or in lump sum. In addition, the lessee is allowed to ask for a third-party guarantee or a collateral from the lessee to secure the payment, as the collateral will minimize the risk for the lessee. A termination of ijarah contract will happen if the rent fails to be paid by the agreed time.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Zulaika. Today I will be presenting about the differences between ijarah vehicle financing and the conventional vehicle financing. Because of the demand from people nowadays, the vehicle sale have risen up from something that we usually think as luxury to a something that is very necessity these days. Without vehicle or car, we cannot go anywhere conveniently. Buying a vehicle is like buying a house. It is expensive if we don't come from a silver spoon family, especially if it is a first-hand and not a second-hand car or a recon car. But as we all know, we can use a financing scheme or loan to buy a vehicle to make it easier, because not all people have a stash of cash just like that. People that want to buy a vehicle such as car have two options, whether they want to pay cash or apply for a vehicle financing. Unfortunately, most people go for option number 2 due to lack of money. However, if they go for option number 2, they have the opportunity to look and survey for any financial institution that provide this service at a various rate that they like. Before we go into details, let's look at a few differences between ijarah vehicle financing and a conventional vehicle financing. The first differences is ijarah vehicle financing was designed to use Islamic concept that are Sharia compliant. The contract that I use in ijarah does meet the requirement that is needed by Sharia law, like their document. If we use ijarah as our vehicle financing contract, the element of fraud, deception and uncertainty can be avoided, but it is a different story when it comes to conventional vehicle financing, where it does not entitled to follow Sharia law. Therefore, the element of fraud, deception and uncertainty cannot be avoided. For example, the lease contract itself is a violation in Islamic Sharia as it contains riba and other element that is haram. Next is interest, whereas previously stated, ijarah vehicle financing complies to the requirement of the Sharia, so it is definitely interest-free. Ijarah is more like a lease agreement than loan, unlike conventional. It is not like a mixed contract, and actually they were based on leasing agreement. For conventional vehicle financing, commonly the customer will borrow and loan the money from the bank in order for them to use it to buy a vehicle. Like I said earlier, the conventional more like a loan, but the ijarah, it's more like a leasing agreement, like a lease contract, like rent or something, like hire and rent. In a nutshell, conventional vehicle financing have interest in order for them to make profit out of it, because that's what they do. They need to get a profit or revenue to sustain their businesses. And this is a polar opposite with what Sharia requires, since it counts as haram in the eyes of Islam. We need to avoid any element of uncertainty and any elements that is not accepted by the Sharia. Moreover, in ijarah vehicle financing, the customer are required to keep a down payment or deposit at the bank. The lessee are required to pay a minimum of 20% of the vehicle price and a maximum which is 50%. For conventional vehicle financing, the customer is also required to pay for the down payment, but it is a little bit different as they need to include the first year installment, which is 20% of the purchaser's price. This part, I'm going to explain about Al-ijarah Thumma Al-Bay, or I shall call it ITAB. So what is ITAB? In brief, ITAB are quite similar to conventional vehicle financing. It is a lease contract that need the lessee to buy the vehicle at the end of the term. It is basically mean that how an individual can enter into the contract that can take place in a logical order to complete the transaction that they have made. ITAB consists of two different contracts. First is the contract of the Al-ijarah itself, and then second is the contract of Al-bay, which is sale. The first contract, which is the ijarah, it basically lays out all of the term and condition for the lease or rent of the vehicle for a specific period of time. The second contract, which is the buy, is to start selling or buying as soon as the first contract end or expired. The lessor will enter into the second contract with lessee to sell the vehicle at a predetermined price at the end of the rental period or upon early settlement. And both of these contracts are classified as contract of trade or contract of exchange. As for the mode of operation of Al-ijarah thumma al-bay, as you can see from the figure I attached anywhere here, ITAP has three main parties in its operation, which is the lessee, the customer or the buyer, and then the bank or the financial institution, which is the lessor, and then the seller or dealer, which is kind of like the bank representative. As I mentioned earlier, these two contracts are combined and merged into one document or one single deal. Even though these two contracts are separate and traded in a single deal, they should be handled separately under some circumstances. As stated in the first contract, the lessee, which is the customer, will rent the vehicle from the dealer or the vendor at a predetermined price for a specific period of time. And then the hirer will enter into the second contract, which is a selling contract, the owner itself to purchase the vehicle at a negotiated price. The selling deal will be fulfilled during the lease contract if the rental costs have been fully settled. In Malaysia case, ITAP customer, they usually look around and survey by locating and communicating with the vendor or the dealer of the vehicle that they are interested to buy. If the customer is interested and wants to pursue in purchasing the vehicle, then the customer will just have to say that they are interested and they want to buy those, and then the dealer itself can prepare all the ITAP financing document that is needed on behalf of the bank. In this situation, the dealer is kind of existing and act as the bank's behalf. After all the documents are prepared and the lessee and the bank have completed the ITAP contract, the vehicle then will be delivered to the lessee effectively beginning at the rental payment. As previously mentioned, the first contract of the lease, which is the contract of ijarah, will occur whenever the dealer or the vendor sells the vehicle that is bought by their customers to a bank or any other financial institution of their choice, and then the bank have the responsibility to pay the dealer of the vehicle in full payment, which then makes the bank, the lessor, is the ultimate owner of the car or vehicle indirectly. Lessee must also agree to pay for the vehicle down payment to the dealer, also any other applicable taxes and insurance plans on the route according to the Malaysian rules. The lessee also responsible for the upkeep and the maintenance of the vehicle. And once the lessee have completed all of the requirements that the bank requires, only then the dealer will deliver the vehicle to the lessee. Last but not least is the second deal of the contract, which is the sales contract, also known as buy. As the vehicle is now leased to the lessee by the lessor, they are now held the position of the hirer of the vehicle. He is also liable to pay the purchase contract or installment with a fixed sum per month to the lessor as agreed in the contract until it is fully paid, which is marked the end of the contract. And that is all from me for the ijarah thumma al-bay and its mode of operation. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Fazila binti Arifin, and today I would like to present about benefits of Al-ijarah. When talking about Al-ijarah, people tend to know and curious about benefit first before consider contract. So here the benefits of Al-ijarah, which is 19% financing. Margin of finance usually given 100% financing, but different with in term of Al-ijarah, margin of finance will be given up to 90% and is open for everyone who want to use Al-ijarah. Margin of finance 90% is example when the asset value 150,000, so it's mean bank will fund as much of 135,000, and for the 10% must be paid by the person who want to hire purchase asset as a deposit. In terms of period of financing, the minimum financing is 1 year and the maximum is 9 years. But there's requirement need to fulfill in order to get higher purchase. For example, in terms of age, the minimum age is 18 years old and maximum age is 65 years old. Also, in terms of income, they need to have in minimum annual income 36,000. so it's easy for those who want to buy asset for their future using Al-ijarah. Payment is made with eventual ownership is also one of benefits of Al-ijarah. This is because ownership of property will not be transferred to the customer when they still in ijarah period. So customer will get advantage of using the asset even though customer did not fully pay the asset and still in ijarah periods. So it's clear that the risk still remain with the bank since the customer still in ijarah periods, and bank will bear any cost, also basic liability of the asset, while the customer just in charge of daily or routine maintenance. For example, car petrol, engine oil, in order to manage and make sure the asset will be functioning well. It's clear enough to say it's good to use Al-ijarah since it will give big benefits to user or customer. After that, yearly settlement also one of the benefits of Al-ijarah. Customer may fully settle the payment before its original maturity date, so customer can rebut for the yearly settlement. In this case, rebut will be partial refund, and in terms of the profit, refund will be calculated by bank using term provided by the Hire Purchase Act. Following the Maybank Islamic, if customer want to fully settle the tenure for example, the original tenure is 60 months, but they want to yearly settle the payment to 80 to 48 monthly payment, the customer may get rebut their charges for the remaining 12 months. Thus, here we can see that it's clearly stated that customer have right to terminate the agreement early than the original contract. We can see that customers have benefits from Al-ijarah because they can make yearly settlement even though it's not original period sign of payment. Lastly, the benefits of Al-ijarah is termination via return of goods. In the period of ijarah, the lessee will benefit from using the asset even though did not fully pay the asset. But if the lessee pay the fully payment, the contract between lessor and lessee will be terminated, and in return, lessor will give the ownership of the asset to the lessee. Here it's important to have mutual consent between two parties. Thus, it's clearly that the lessee or customer will benefit from this ijarah contract. This is because the asset will remain belong to the customer until the end, but different thing will happen if customer did not meet the requirement of the lessor. As long as lessee and lessor working each other, this will give benefits to both of parties. So, it's important for customer to consider using ijarah when want to purchase sentence asset for future sale. That's all from me, which is benefits of Al-ijarah, and thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Kafiza Kamal. So I'm going to present conclusion part. Al-ijarah, which is modally the list of an asset, and the ijarah contract is also the taking of benefits for goods or services. There are several conditions and elements of ijarah which are both people who make a covenant must be poverty and sane and express their willingness to perform the ijarah contract. Besides, the benefits of the property of ijarah must be known perfectly, and the value of the object of ijarah can be handed over and used directly and without defect. And the most important, the asset and usufruct shall be recognized by Sharia to be able to enter a contract. Furthermore, in ijara contract must have these elements, which are rental, which is ujra, and the rental amount must be known and have agreement between both parties. And the last element is offer, which is ijab, and acceptance, which is qabul. Besides, we also conclude that Islam vehicle financing has differences with conventional vehicle financing, in which ijara contract is will run according to Sharia, while conventional vehicle financing does not follow Sharia, which is the lease agreement is contradicts with the Islamic Sharia because it has riba or perhaps other non Islamic elements. Next, in Ijara contract, interest is prohibited, where in Islamic finance requires that finance is provided on the principle of profit and loss sharing. But if in conventional vehicle financing by the debt with obligation to pay interest, and it is counted as riba. Next, Ijara contract has minimum of 20% and maximum of 50% of the vehicle's price is requirement that need to be fulfilled by the lessor, and the buyer can return their vehicle anytime, while conventional vehicle financing has 20% including the first year installment to make purchase for the vehicle, and also the vehicle can return by the buyer during at the expire of the lease. Mode of operation and Ijara application is through AITAB process, which has three primary parties, which are the lessee or customer, the bank or finance firm, which is lessor, and the vendor or dealer, which is kind of like a bank representative, representative in which the bank will purchase property, for example, car, from the dealer, and the dealer will deliver the car to hire, and the customer will pay monthly payment as agreed. Lastly, we also conclude that by applying Ijara contract, customers will get benefit, which are customers may fully settle the payment before its maturity date. For example, they can settle the advance advance payment to 48 monthly payments, even if the original period is 60 months, and they will get a rebate of their charge for the remaining 12 months. The benefits of Al-Ijara is termination via return of goods waived during the Ijara period. Even if not paying the asset in full, the lessee will get benefit from using the asset, but when if the lessee pays in full payment, the contract between lessor and lessee will be terminated, and the lessor will grant ownership of the asset to the lease. So that's all from our group. Assalamualaikum and thank you, sir.